Oh, hi there YouTubers and Engage modelers. Welcome to another servicing video from Sort 6233. And today's project is a Graham Farish locomotive which I got from eBay. It's a class 47 diesel. It's the Lady Godiva in Waterman livery, and this is bought as a non-runner with a buffer missing apparently. I haven't had it out of its box yet, so let's have a look at it. The box itself is obviously showing signs of wear, a bit scuffed, and I think if I open it up, the end flap has come off. So let's take it out and just ease it out there. Still has its guarantee registration card, although whether that would still be active I don't know, but it's interesting. I don't see a date on it. Anyway, put that aside. Some bubble wrap to help it, and there it is. Isn't that nice? Black Waterman livery. I wonder if that's Pete Waterman. I shall try and investigate that. There's the running number. It's 47710, and there's its nameplate, the Lady Godiva. Is that? I can't make out that bit there. Let's see it closer. What does it say there? Waterman Railways Heritage Class. Waterman Railways. Okay. Nice looking. Still got its plastic tray. And the box is in good condition. Sorry about that. Okay, let's see what happens if I can take it out. Easy enough. Comes out easy enough. So let's just put the box and the registration card to one side. Examining it, there's where the missing buffer should go. I was going to say there's a missing buffer, but you can't see it. On the other end, we've got both buffers. The coupling hooks on both sides seem to be okay, and all the wheels and plastic stuff's all there. So overall, nice condition. I'll just try and pick up a buffer somewhere. So non-runner. Okay, let's get it onto the rolling road. Certainly doesn't seem to be a lot of activity. Okay, right, next step be to see if you can get the cover off. Usually with these end gauge, just hold the chassis, hold the body. Oh, there's the battery box, I think that's what it's called. Oh, there we go, just ease off, and there's the motor assembly. In the typical Farish arrangement, you seem to have a central motor and extended drive gear through a cog onto a set of gears underneath. Okay, let's try put up the power again. There's a bit of movement, did you see that there? There's a bit of movement there. Yeah, you can see the gear trying to turn, but not very much. I'm trying to put the power up one side then the other. Right, let's see if we can get some measurements on this. Not a lot happening there at all, not a lot. Okay. And if I have a look here, there's a couple of screws here on the side. And my guess is that they will be the ones that hold the bogies on. So I'm going to remove them carefully. One bracket off, and the other bracket off, and that removes one of the bogies. They seem to be freely moving. So let's see what happens if I apply power directly. I'm going to presume that it's between the chassis and this contact. And there's still not a lot happening. I shall remove the other bogie. And there we go. Now faced with two sets of contacts. These of course are paralleled. These are the chassis, these are the power input. So it should be easy enough to connect to the chassis with one lead and onto the power with another one. There's still not a lot of activity. I've got it halfway up. You would have thought offload that the motor would turn reasonably well. So at this point I'm thinking that perhaps lubrication, but I really would like to see what's going on inside. When you examine, you just about see in here, you can see the commutator. It's kind of shiny. I don't know if you can make that out, which means that it doesn't look as if it's been used a lot. There's the motor turning. And I really need to try and examine the motor. It's probably been gunged up by a bit of fluff. I think I'm going to have to remove this screw and this screw to release the top cover so that I can get access into the motor. Okay, let me do that and I'll get back to you in a minute or so. I now got to the stage where I'm ready to replace the chassis plate onto the chassis, and to do that I'm also going to replace the copper contact strip, the brass contact strip, and the brush assembly, which has the brush head, the brush spring, a capillary tube and a little clip to hold it in. I'm also going to fit the high frequency suppressor, and we're using 2 bolts to put the whole assembly together. The chassis plate has a groove on the underside to fit over the armature and a hole at this end to allow the brush assembly to feed through onto the commutator. I found out from experience that it's almost necessary to fit the brass plate onto the plastic plate first by the capillary tube, because the tolerances are so fine that if I try and do this, try and fit the capillary tube later, I just need the slightest, and I mean slightest, deviation from this position held by the screws and it won't go in. So I fitted that first of all. I'm now going to fit that onto here. I try and ease one of the points of the poles through the groove and it clicks in there and it's basically held there quite firmly. Now I'm going to fit in the brass plate. I'm going to start at this side here, feed the bolt through, it comes underneath to another contact plate with another contact spring, and the 3mm nut will simply fit onto the end there. Basically hold that in place and applying the screwdriver. There we go, oops, and that's it in. Oops, so it's not connecting. What we've done, it worked in rehearsal, and there, and contact, there we go. Now you don't tighten these nuts at this time, you wait until everything's in place and then you can tighten them up one by one. Next is the high frequency filter, which is simply a very low value capacitor. One leg slides through a little groove in the chassis plate and the other leg fits underneath the brass contact plate. So there's no soldering involved in this. In double O gauge we often had to solder. So that just fits in there. Oops, let me try and get this right. Oh. So we'll try again. Slides in there, underneath the contact plate. The other leg comes out and just basically rests between the contact plate and the plastic holder. If I can get it to just ease in. Just too much underneath. There's very little tolerance here. It has to come out and sit round the brass contact. That's it. So you can see there, one leg is underneath the plate, the other leg is touching the brass contact. Now I can fit the second bolt. Goes through. Make sure it gets through the bottom contact plate. If you're doing one of these, you have to take care that you don't push this off. Like that. So that should go in there. Come on. Very neat fit here. Oops. There we go. That's on there. Replace the contact strip. There are a couple of pips in this black plate to hold it in place, but once they come off, they don't really hold it in place. They only just stop it from rotating. On it goes. Just get the nut on first, then I can line everything up. That's it, and now I can line the contact plate over the pips to hold them in place. And do more. Take pressure off the nut a wee bit. Oops. Come on. There we go. That's it. And now I can tighten it up. Again, not too tight. Make sure everything's in place. Make sure that's okay. And then tighten them gradually together. That's fine there, that's fine there. And I'm hoping that the armature will turn freely. There it goes, really. That's good. Now I can fit the rest of the brush assembly. The brush head down through the capillary tube, push in as far as it'll go. The contact spring through there, and making sure of course that it doesn't ping. If it does, it will just fly anywhere. And then the clip, don't know what shape you call that, sits over the top, pushing evenly down, just clipping it out the side. And this is a good bit, is making sure it does it properly, like so. And a bit of time, and there we go, that's it down. So that should be both springs contacting the commutator, and the armature should be free to rotate. It does. So I can now in a position to apply power and see if it runs. So I have my contacts over here. I've got my power supply on at low level, and I'm just going to try very closely one contact on an earth and one contact on a power one, and I'm hoping that somewhere along the line, somewhere along the line I'll be able to get some movement. Try a bit more power, because I don't really know what these are like. And do you know what? It's not successful, folks. It's not successful. So I'm going to try and apply directly to the brushes. One brush there. And something has definitely askew. Oh well. It might be the motor after all. It might be the motor after all, because everything else seems to be fine. Well, it appears that I have an armature. It's called the GF31, and it's for all the diesels. It's a 5-pole, and when I checked the windings of this armature, the readings were infinitely different from the readings in this armature. So it looks as if my suspicions may be correct. So I'll have to dismantle this, remove the old armature, and put this one back in again. To remove the armature, you rotate it, look out for these gearings, and part of it is a slot that fits into the universal gear here, and I can just slide up. Does the same on both sides, and when you remove it, be careful that you remember to look after the other brush, which will now be free. So the brush has come out, and remove the spring. Those of course will have to be replaced before you put the new armature back in again. The old armature contains bearings and the gear linking. The new armature here is now going to be fitted with these. I think that this will just simply pull off. It does, and the support bracket, I think it's called, will slide off easily. Being sure to look for this pip. There's a pip here at the end that goes on the outside in each of these. So that's the old one laid to one side. This is a nice shiny new one, so I fit that on there, and this will just fit hopefully into there. The other side, the support bracket. Oops. Fits over the end of the armature, and this will also fit on. And so be careful to line these up so that they will slide in together. Push that on, and now this can get fitted in here. In retrospect, I'm going to remove this brush holder and I'll fit it once the armature's in place. So let me just remove the clip so that I can fit the brush. I'm going to leave the capillary tube in because I don't think it will affect anything, and I don't think it will slide out. Now I'm going to slide in the armature into one side, making sure that these support brackets, I'm sure they get a different name but I can't think what it is right now. And hopefully I can ease this in, like so. And same on this side, there is a groove allocated for them. Bearings, I think they're called, that's the word. And then just rotate this one wheel, and there we go. So that should now be a movable assembly. There we go. That didn't hurt too much. Now I have to rebuild it. I think I'll do this off camera to save you just watch my futile efforts at trying to be professional about all this. So when I get back up, I'll bring it back to you and let you see how it looks. Here's my chassis with the new armature installed and everything all put together, and I should have done it on camera because everything went just as smooth as silk. All the screws went in, brushes went in, so on. And also took the opportunity, should have thought it earlier, I fitted new brushes and new springs, and the old ones I'll keep them as spares because I often have machines that I'm not going to build up, but I like to experiment. So now I'm going to apply some power. Got my power supply over here, attach one end to the chassis, and I'm hoping, and I haven't tried this yet, that this might work. And look at that. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. And just take the power down a little bit. On there. On the other side. And that's nice. So it was the armature after all. What confused me was that the readings for each coil were in fact the same, although I had to commit a bit lower than I was expecting. But when I measured these, they were more like 13 ohms, 14 ohms, which is more than what it should have been. However, I hadn't worked on one of these armatures before and I didn't realise that, but now I know. So if you're checking them out, look for about anything from 12 to 14 ohms, and a lot of that will depend on your multimeter. Okay, let's see if we can build this up and get this running on the track. When I'm assembling the bogies, each bogie, they look pretty identical, have two copper strips, and these will act as conductors into the spring here and the spring there, and the same at the other end. The conductors are held, the bogies are held by these brackets which fit into the side, and a little screw, I think it's about 8BA possibly. Oops. try and get that in. Countersunk screw in there. Oops. Again, it's my sausage fingers, but that's it in. And what I'm going to do, because I think it will work, is I'm going to put one side in there, then ease the bogie in like so, making sure that the contact strips work and also that the cog at the top fits with the worm screw. So if I turn this one here, then the wheels should turn. Very small movement, but I think it is working. Then the other bracket goes into the other side and the screw fits in like so. And that will fit in. Again, not too tight. It's not quite in because it's not sitting perfectly. So, in like so, there we go. Doesn't seem to be too bad. There's contact there. So let's try our power again. There's one. There's the other. And we can see that the bogie will work. If I can get it into shot, there we go. And you can see the bogie turning nice and smoothly. I don't have a lot of power on, so let me just tweak it up a wee bit. And there we go, nice and smooth running the bogie. Let's do the same on the other side. And bracket in with its screw. And in there, oops. So just give it a little slack. I have to ease bogie in to contact these two, and also for this top screw to fit with the worm screw there. And while juggling a pan of spaghetti in my head at the same time, no bother. Right, there goes to the bracket, there it's there. And if that fits in, we should have, oops, doesn't like the magnetic screwdriver very much. Yeah, well, maybe I'll use a screwdriver that way. Oops, there we go. Excuse me, guys. Right, try again. In there, fit that in here. Holding that down, put the screw in, hold the screw, and then apply the screwdriver. Now, why didn't I do that first time? Get it lined up with the groove, there we go. Nice. This time I can try it through the wheels. Got it on, got it on, got that. Do that. Oops. And this one, and that one. Yep, that's it. And this front bogie isn't working very well. It's not contacting with the gear. I wonder if that's the problem. Try again. This front bogie isn't working. See, the other bogie is, but the front one isn't. Alright. Let me just take a few minutes and see if I can find out why. Well, there we have it. There's our class 47, a new armature. I stripped down the bogies. I found the bits of fluff jammed in one of the bogies, freed it all out and put it all back together again. A bit of lubrication, of course, and there we have it. It seems to be running away nicely. So I'm going to get it all together and we'll put it onto the track and see if it will run. Well, there's my class 47, the lady Godiva, and sitting patiently around number 47710. So let's turn up the power and see how she goes. Just stretching over, and there she goes, no problem, lovely. And the back. Go out a wee bit. There we are. Coming round. And stretching out the tunnel. So there's not much wrong for now. Lovely, lovely addition to my fleet. I think that's nice. Right. So I'm going to hook it up to a couple of coaches and see what happens then. Bringing it back round, I'm going to run a couple up to some wagons from my PMU. Take that a wee bit, and we've got 2 wagons there. Change the direction and here she goes. What a beautiful maneuver. No effort whatsoever. Yes, 47. Halfway restored to working order. So it looks as if the bogie jamming up overheated the armature, didn't like it, melted down and just stopped. So it's nice to get a working model again, nice to get it running up. And just while we're here, there's my little German locomotive 060 is heading to the upper layer tunnel, but sticking the track, not removed for a while. And on the other track coming round is a little pannier. I think it's a 9000 series GWR livery. I'm picking up there the Godiva once more, coming round, and I think we'll just finish off there. So thanks for watching. I hope it's been of help to some people. I've enjoyed doing it, and it's like a lot of these things, to start off you don't know how they're going to end up. But I'm happy with that. I hope you are too. So feel free to subscribe and like and comment. Until then, YouTubers, keep watching and bye for now.